Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. And it's Tuesday, which means it's time for our weekly tier list Tuesday. And last week, we tier listed a duo of head coach and general manager for every single team. And we're doing another duo. The Oodster7 on Instagram suggested this topic. Shout out to them. We are going to be tier listing every single team's center duo, because when looking at it in NHL history, to win the Stanley Cup, you got to have a damn good center duo. The last 2 years, Barkov and Bennett. In 2023, Vegas had Jack Eichel and William Karlsson. 2022, Nazem Kadri and Nathan MacKinnon. The Tampa Bay Lightning obviously had Stamkos, Point, and Cirelli. So you got to be strong down the middle of the ice. We are going to be tier listing these center duos heading into next season. Starting with the Dallas Stars, I think you put them in good. They don't quite have that true top 10 center in the NHL. Roope Hintz is definitely number one center, and Wyatt Johnston probably could play the role of a number one center and eventually could be an elite top 10 number one center, but isn't quite there. So I think good. I think good is where they're at. They're definitely closer to great, but good right now. Unless Wyatt Johnston takes a big step, then I could definitely see great. The Columbus Blue Jackets, this is an interesting one because Monahan smashed expectations last year. Fantilli scored 31 goals. If Fantilli takes a big step and Monahan's somehow able to replicate or do like 85 to 90% of that production that he had last year, this is definitely a good center duo. For now, I think I'm just going to put them in solid. Also, I'm going based off how like Daily Faceoff has it right now in terms of the 1-2 center duo. So yeah, Columbus, solid, but closer to good. The Colorado Avalanche, I am going to put in great, though. Of course, Brock Nelson is not nearly as good as Wyatt Johnston, but they do have the second or the third best center in the entire NHL, and Nathan MacKinnon. They have an elite first-line center, and they have a good second-line center now. They've had a huge void at second-line center basically since Nazem Kadri left. I'm not saying Brock Nelson is as good as Nazem Kadri in 2022 when he had 87 points, 71 games, but with a full season, he should be a solid 60-ish point guy, 65-ish points probably, considering he's going to have a lot better line mates than compared to New York. So yeah, I think that they actually end up in great. And I'm expecting some Karlsson to take a step and McTavish to take a step as well. So I think I'm going to put it in meh. I could definitely see you saying bad. It was bad last season because these guys are so young, but I'm expecting the progression to kind of happen and get them up into meh. Buffalo is actually solid. Again, I'm assuming that Josh Norris is going to be able when healthy. This guy can be a 25-ish goal, 55-ish to maybe even 60 points. And Tage Thompson is a legit number one center, especially after this season when he had like 44 goals in 75 games. He's a top 30 player in the NHL for me. So it's pretty solid. How much will Josh Norris play this season? We don't know, because the last like 3 years, he's only averaged 36 games a season. But when healthy, this is one of the few bright spots on the Buffalo Sabres heading into next season, is their center duo. Florida, no shit here. Great. Barkov, top 10 player in the NHL. Sam Bennett, the regular season isn't awesome, but come playoff time the last 3 years, I think he's been clicking at like 40 goals, 75 point pace or something ridiculous like that, and just won himself the goddamn Conn Smythe. Boston, it's kind of bad, man. It's kind of bad. What is it going to be? Lindholm and then either Middlestat or Zacha. Yeah, I think I'd take Anaheim, just those young guys taking that step. I think Lindholm's going to be better next season, but still nothing close to a first-line center. And it's kind of bad as a result. The Pittsburgh Penguins, I think you can put them in good. Crosby is still an elite first-line center, a top 5 to 8 center in the NHL. Geno Malkin, despite not really playing with much talent at this point, still can give you like 55 to 60 points. He's a okay to good second line center. So I think overall they grade out to good. They're definitely closer to solid than great at this point, but they're old as hell, but still damn good. So I think I'm going to put them in good. The Ottawa Senators, I got to see Dylan Cousins fully bounce back. He was very good on Ottawa, and Tim Stützle isn't quite that elite first line center yet. So I think I'm just going to put them in solid right now, but they definitely have a lot of potential to move up to good if some of their two young guys take steps. Carolina, I'm assuming Kotkaniemi's the second line center, and as a result, I kind of got to go with meh. I like Sebastian Aho, top probably 9 to 13 center in the NHL, around point per game, but Kotkaniemi is not remotely close to a second line center. Maybe they'll try Jarvis at center, but I mean, he's traditionally a right winger. So I'm going with Kotkaniemi. I guess you could put Jordan Staal here instead of Kotkaniemi if you think Jordan Staal is better than Kotkaniemi, but he doesn't move the needle at all. So as a result, I think meh right now. That is their clear big weakness right now. Everything else in the team, especially their wingers, in my opinion, are loaded. I talked about it with Babiak on the podcast today, but center is not quite there. For the Edmonton Oilers, obviously they're great. They have the best and either the second or the third best player in the NHL as their centers. My New York Islanders, I'm tempted to put him in good. I feel like people are going to, I got to keep him in solid. I think it's an underrated center duo because Matt Barzal is going to be shifting back to center now that they don't have Brock Nelson. So they have like two, I think Matt Barzal could be a low end first line center. But they have two, at the bare minimum, very good second line centers in Bo Horvat and Matt Barzal, but are not quite until Barzal. I think Barzal might actually pop off this year, but right now I think it's in solid, but it's closer to good than solid. It's actually one of the bright spots of the New York Islanders. The Detroit Red Wings, Kasper's, I think he's going to take a step this season. How big of a step? He was sniffing like 20 and 20 last year. So if he can somehow take a step to 30 and 30, this is solid for sure. But until we see that, I can't quite put it in solid. Dylan Larkin, okay, number one center. And then Marco Kasper, there is a lot of variability heading into next season. Next up, we got the Los Angeles Kings, and I think I'm going to go with meh. If we were looking at the center trio of them having Kopitar, Byfield, and Deneau, that's very impressive. But Deneau or Byfield, until we see Byfield take that next step, he's been so inconsistent throughout a full season. I think you can only put him at meh just because Kopitar is like a low-end first-line center at this point. Byfield, I think, could be a very good second-line center, but it's kind of meh right now, I'm not going to lie. The Tampa Bay Lightning, good point. Cirelli's so damn good defensively, just doesn't quite have that high-end offense. I could see an argument for great. I might move them up to great at the end, but we shall see. Now I'm going to move up to great. Cirelli is one of the better two second-line centers in the NHL. Braden Point's a consistent 80 to 90, 40-ish goal kind of guy. I think they have a great center duo, especially with the defensive aspects that center duo brings. Seattle Kraken, though, is bad. Stevenson and Beniers. Beniers is very good defensively, needs to get back on track offensively. Back-to-back years of only being around 40-point base, and Chandler Stevenson's underlying numbers were absolute dog shit this year. Calgary, also kind of just bad. Nazem Kadri and Mikkel Backlund, I believe, right now. They don't really, it's not like they have any young guy that's going to take a huge step in terms of a second-line center. Nazem Kadri is like a very good second-line center, just not quite a first-line center at this stage in his career. The Montreal Canadiens, I think meh is fair. Nick Suzuki, good first-line center, especially with the way that he played in the back half of last season. Kirby Dach, not remotely close to being a second-line center on an actual contending team or even that much of a playoff team. I know that they made the playoffs, but they just barely made the playoffs. And he's hurt right now. So, like, yeah, I think you got to have the Montreal Canadiens. And meh, they definitely need to address, probably next season, go for it in terms of a second-line center. Washington Capitals, I think I'm gonna put them in solid. They're kind of like the New York Islanders. Strom's like a low-end first-line center. PLD's a very good second-line center. Maybe I'll throw them in good. I'll beat the biased accusations and put them there. Yeah, Strome was around a point per game. PLD around 60-ish points. Very good defensively. It doesn't knock your socks off, but it's just very balanced in terms of that. Next up, the Vancouver Canucks. Just a massive variability with this center duo. Elias Pettersson coming off another injured season, bad season. Filipino, Mr. Concussion himself. I don't mean that like in a joking way. He just always has concussions. So I'm going to just put them in meh. They could be solid. They could maybe even be good if they both bounce back. We've seen so much flashes with those two guys, but it's just not consistent enough. The St. Louis Blues, it's Robert Thomas, and then it's Pia Suter or Braden Shen, both of who I don't think are really that good of second-line centers or even second-line centers at all. So I think meh. Robert Thomas, solid, good first-line center, but it does fall off a decent amount after that. The Nashville Predators, it's bad. It's not horrendous. Stamkos, Ryan O'Reilly, it's not like next level bad, but at this stage, they're probably both solid second-line centers. So if that's your duo, you're probably not winning a ton of games at the NHL level. The Philadelphia Flyers, similar to very good defensive center duo with Couturier and Noah Cates, or maybe it should be Christian Dvorak as second-line center. Probably should be Cates. Very good defensively, does not offer a lot offensively. Couturier is like a 45-point defensive center at this point. Cates is like 35-ish points. Just severely lacks. Probably the worst offensive center duo in the NHL heading into next year. The New Jersey Devils, I feel like this one shouldn't be that controversial. Jack Hughes, when he's actually healthy, even when he's been hurt, he's averaging like 95 points a season. The last 2 years, Nico Hischier, one of the better defensive centers, high-end offense as well. Yeah, it's a great center duo. I think Hughes was like 15th on my top 50. Hischier was like 30th. Very, very good, and very good both ways of the ice as well. The Minnesota Wild. Eriksson Ek I like a lot, but he's just not a true number one center. And Marco Rossi, 60-point, a lot of skill, is a little bit undersized. I think I'm just going to put them in meh. But I can see an argument for solid. Marco Rossi's unsigned, but I'm just assuming that he's going to sign. Same thing goes for Mason McTavish, obviously. At this stage, as much as the insiders wanted to tell you this was going to be a wild summer, it has not been the case. So I think the Wild, it's fair to put him in meh. San Jose, right now, it's lined up to be Celebrini first-line center, Will Smith second-line center. I think Celebrini's going to be around the point-per-game beast. Will Smith should be 55, 60 points this year, especially with the way that he finished off the season. Still got to fully see it to potentially put them in a solid, but they've definitely gotten out of bad, which they were at last year. The Toronto Maple Leafs, they're definitely good. I could make an argument for great. Tavares was very productive, but he is getting up there in age. Yeah, if I have Pittsburgh up there, I got it. I like Matthews more than Crosby. I like Tavares more than Malkin. So I'm going to put them up there in great. Winnipeg's kind of meh as well, not going to lie. Mark Scheifele is a good first-line center, solid first-line center, but then they're either going to have Adam Lowry or Jonathan Toews as their second-line center. I just cannot in good faith put that in solid. The Chicago Blackhawks, they're still in bad. It's going to be Frank Nazar and Connor Bedard. If they both take big steps, we'll move them up to meh. Not sure that is quite going to happen. We got 3 more to go because this is a repeat of the Utah logo and the St. Louis logo. I got the updated logos. The New York Rangers, I'm going to put in solid. Maybe actually good. It's going to come down to Trocheck. Trocheck had a bit of a down year. JT Miller still is a good first-line center. I think I'll put him in. I'm very pessimistic on this list compared to prior. I guess I might have to move some of these up from here to kind of balance it out. But yeah, solid. JT Miller, he was around the point per game once he got acquired by the New York Rangers, and no reason why he can't be that yet again. It's just Trocheck needs to be a little bit better offensively after a bit of a down year. The Utah Mammoth, it's going to come. Logan Cooley had 55 points in 70 games, so I think he's going to take a step and be a solid first-line center. Barrett Hayden doesn't quite move me. I got to move some of these around. But the Vegas Golden Knights, to finish us off, they're good. Jack Eichel, Tomas Hertl. You could argue maybe even great for this center duo, but I think good is solid, especially when you look at the guys in the... Actually, if I have Toronto up there, I feel like I got to have Vegas as well, because Eichel and Matthews, there's not some huge gap. And Hertl and Tavares are about equal. Let me move some of these guys up. I'm moving the Islanders. I'm moving the Rangers. Then I'm moving the Minnesota Wild. I'll move the Los Angeles Kings. And maybe I'll even move. I won't move them. Who else? I think this is fair. I think this is about fair. Let me move myself out of the way. But yeah, here's the final in all its glory after moving and shaking a little bit because I had far too little of teams in great and good. Let me know in the comments. What do you think about this? What teams would you move up? What teams would you move down? I'll be seeing you in the next one. Peace.